Hello, good morning. Weird title, right? Preaching. Does psychology preach the temporal? First of all, you don't attribute the word teaching to the psychology. Psychology is a study. Psychology is here to give human beings certain comfort, maybe to cure him from distress, from feeling like this kind of anxiety, depression, whatever, panic attacks, whatever. Does it preach? Preaching is word always is like leaning towards religion. You preach people, you call people to God. Well, that is true. Does psychology preach the temporal? It doesn't preach the temporal. It provokes the temporal. Your words are kind of obscure. Can you change the time? I'm not referring to the objective time. January, December. Can you change the Milky Way? Cannot change the Milky Way. It's all the time. It's the same. That's an objective word. An objective time. I'm talking to the psychic time. Psychic time is the presence of mind of the individual. As an example, an automaton, you cannot attribute time to the automaton. An automaton is a person who is behaving without conscious awareness. So you cannot attribute the time to such a person. Again, when you speak about the time is existing, time, and is not existing. Something you cannot give the word definite decision, a definite interpretation to the time. It all depends on the person's presence of mind. Why I chose this title? Because human being was meant to be eternal. And psychology is itself putting him in the segment of time of the temporal, and it tries, talking about the psychology, to find the cure to his segment of time, closed segment of time in his psyche. All these problems, all this distress coming from this. And then it gives him a remedy, which is the case of the tobacco industry. Way back, they used to make publicity. The Marlboro Man, the James Bond attitude, they promote. And then they give you the cure. Everything is like this. The one who is sending you the antivirus in the computer is he himself is sending you the virus into your computer. Who has visualized, who was the first creature who get trapped in the temporal unconsciously? Is Satan. Satan, he was the first creature who fell, who got trapped in the segment of time, temporal. Before what we are going to speak about, there was no such a thing as, we should say, before, now, after, minus infinity, plus infinity in the limits. There was no such a thing. Could possibly human being could envisage this. There was only the eternity. In Latin you say the eternity, that is minus infinity plus infinity. In Arabic, when you speak about the past without a beginning, you say al-azal. When you speak about future without an end, you say al-abad. But there's a word, a beautiful word in Latin, you say the sempiternity. The sempiternity is your role in the moment, how to seize the moment to be expanded towards the eternity. In Arabic, you say al-khulud. When he verbalized the following words to Adam and Eve to trick them, did he pay attention to this? I should ask another question. Was he lying about his feelings? Well, of course, everybody's going to tell you he was lying. It is true. But did he feel his lies? No, he didn't feel his lies. Pay close attention. I know it's a little confusing, deep. At the same time, probably I'm not on such a level to explain it easily, but I do my best. And do your best to share something with me. He said, do you want me to show you the tree of the eternity and the kingdom that will never perish? هل أدلكم على شجرة الخلد وملك لا يبلى? Why the first thing crossed his mind is eternity. It wasn't the eternity. He felt the temporal. He was captive by the temporal. He feared to lose the eternity, that he lost it already. This is how he tricked them unconsciously. And he was not lying about his feelings. He was lying about God. If you put Satan, I'm talking about Mr. Lucifer, you put him under a polygraph lie detector, you will not find him being a liar. No, he was not lying about his feelings because he passed that level, and you know it. You know, they teach you this in espionage organization, the organization of espionage, whatever. In case if you get caught by an enemy, the enemy under, for instance, an influence or like an hypnotism, or they put you like in a sleep and they speak to your subconscious, they won't be able to get the truth from you because you come to believe your lies. You pass that level. This is a deep understanding, they do it with studies, time. When you wake up, before you sleep, they wake you up at night, that becomes normal. Even if they speak to your subconscious, they won't be able to get the truth from you. This level is during the Cold War. Today is far developed. Do you know, developed with degradation, because a human being is no longer a human being. And they think this is like, this is kind of like evolution. Oh, this is the psychology is so advanced back. And they stand, the congratulation is on the podium of degradation. I don't know if you understand my words. Yes, you do. Satan, the time when what he was doing, a self-indoctrination, nobody knows about that. Why did he use the eternity? He did not speak about anything else. To trick them, he spoke about the eternity. Because I said he lost it. Why did he lose it? How did he lose it? When God asked the angels, and he was among them, even though he was created from fire. Angels were created from light. Even though he is from fire, he was created from fire. He is not like them. But the nature was angelic. Everything was angelic. That's why when God asked them, he did not make a distinction between, he didn't say, angels and the jinn prostrate your heads to Adam. No, he was among them. You said, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ اسْجُدُوا لِآدَمَ فَسَجَدُوا إِلَّا إِبْلِيسَ. So when God asked the angel to prostrate their head to Adam, all of them did. They went down, they prostrated their heads to Adam. With the exception here, by the time he was standing, the word Iblis, meaning satanic frequency, appears. The refusal made him like that. And why did he refuse? When God asked him, he said, What prevented you? What had prevented you from prostrating your head to what I have created with my two hands like this? ما منعك أن تسجد لما خلقت بيدي استكبرت أم كنت من العالين. He said, you created me from fire and you created him from clay. Here it shows you that the adversary, the competitor, the enemy was in his subconscious. He created him. Glorifying the self, preaching, glorifying the self, ruminating the self, flamboyance, self-aggrandizement, it creates an enemy. It creates a competitor to compete with. He becomes vulnerable and he will look for him. As you know, look at the United States, like the movies of the Django, the Ringo, the Bob Dalton, and the legend of Jesse James. Of everything is an adversary to go to kill him. And the whole country is like that, by the way. They didn't realize. The whole country is like this. Do not compete with me. Do not show your level with me. He was looking for Adam before his creation. You understand? The length of time when he was glorifying the self, actually the time that percolates in a person's consciousness is according to the worshipped. You can worship anything you want. You can worship the sun. The sun, it has a time when it becomes inexistent. You can worship the moon. That length of time, it's an absence in your own subconscious. You feel being oblivious. You can worship Poseidon, as what they call the Greeks. They deify nature, the god of the ocean. You can worship. This is beside, regardless the time of the cataclysm when the world disappeared. Here, the worshipped disappears, that audience disappears, the time disappears from the person, from the worshipper. So, he felt, when glorifying the self, he felt the self-esteem, as I call it today, the self-esteem created a temporal. What he verbalized is the truth of his feeling and not the truth about the eternity. I don't know if I'm making myself understandable. He was trapped in the temporal, that's why. Now getting back to psychology. Psychology is itself preaching the temporal. The whole psychology is to give a person a self-confidence, yet there is a self-esteem that is resulted by itself. There is a self-esteem that is primarily, in the beginning, a person is seeking this self-esteem, and that's a danger. I'm referring to the person when he said science, and science, of course, they speak about. Did science or does science do anything today in the world? How people are suffering from this kind of, all kind of this distress? Do you find anyone in these big countries, so advanced countries, where the systematism is the dominant impulse of each one's consciousness? Systematism, that means a person is decided. He doesn't decide. It's a passive voice. He looks for a formula. He looks for a theory. He looks for a theorem. He looks for a system. And the system itself becomes systematic, and the systematism that the person here is driven. That segment of time is the temporal. Psychology is creating more harm to human being than relief. All I'm saying is psychology doesn't pay attention to the time. We're going to talk about give a small concrete example. If you drop a black liquid in a small container, I don't know, you're going to see the color over there, the impact. You drop it in a big container, citern, the impact will diminish. You don't see the black color, but if you analyze the water under a microscopic, certain things like a very sophisticated, you're going to find that liquid. something from that liquid in that container. Drop it in a swimming pool. It disappears. Giving the example of Clorox, L'Eau de Javel. Drop it in a river, in a lake, drop it in the ocean. So the harm, the discomfort is existing. How psychology is confronting that is by creating, is referring constantly to this black liquid. They attract the patient to the black liquid. You suffer from this, from that. If you point that to me, you repeat this to me, what does it mean? It's like a smoker. You're going to give him an advice telling, do not smoke. Do you think it's that easy? Do not smoke. Try to find me some kind of way, activity that's going, I'll be occupied by, with pleasure, preoccupied, not in a bad way, by, so that I will forget this, it will develop something, another force of abstention that will help me to stop this nicotine from my body, to avoid or eliminate this nicotine. Tell me, I'm depressed. Don't be depressed. Do you think it's easy? So the flacon is in the bottle of that black liquid. Instead of referring to it, try to enlarge, expand his conscience, because he was created for, getting back to the time, he was created to be eternal. The brain is vulnerable, has always a tendency to shrink because of the influence of the environment. You work, you were born, you have this influence from your entourage. Besides being bombarded with all of these negative vibes from people. When you withdraw yourself from this kind of like vortex, you withdraw yourself physically. Well, physically, that's just the time of the prayer, but your mind is no longer with the vortex of the Milky Way, la Lacti Sole. Look at the chapter in the Quran, the spider. The spider. What is wrong with the spider? If the spider built, we're going to see she for us to understand. If she built, or it built the house and left it and sought another place, that's fine. The spider got destroyed because it got stuck with its own house. And you know what she said? Well, it said, what she said, because of her saliva, she used her saliva to construct, she said, anybody who ever dare to destroy my house, I dare you. When God told you, وَإِنَّ أَوْهَنَ الْبُيُوتِ لَبَيْتِ الْعَنْكَبُوتِ, he said, the weakest house in this existence is the house of the spider, if they know, because he's directing the dialogue to people, not about her, about the spider. Spider is there. وَإِنَّ أَوْهَنَ الْبُيُوتِ لَبَيْتِ الْعَنْكَبُوتِ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. Moses, peace be upon him, was seeking uniqueness. Pharaoh is seeking uniqueness. Look at the uniqueness that is sought by self-aggrandizement, flamboyance. He said, God described him, he said, Fir'aun dhil awtad, Pharaoh, the one with the pillars. What he said? What did he say? He came on TV to people, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get to actualize the situation in our modern life. He said, أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي أمن خير من هذا الذي هو مهين ولا يكاد يبين. People of Egypt on TV, CNN, Fox News. Don't you see the rivers of Egypt? They flow at my feet. Don't you see the kingdom of Egypt is mine? Look at that. Even though it wasn't even constructed by him. Am I better than this despicable person about Moses who is humiliating him? Is always my flamboyance depends on someone else's devaluation. Do you see how it is? Moses is a very strong man. He was known by the king, how humble he was. One day he asked God, he said, "My Lord, give me something, I pray, as a remembrance, as a reminder, as tasbih, ibadah, worship with." Tasbih, something is different, tasbih. God told him, "Oh Moses, say there is no God except God." You know, Moses responded, said, "My Lord, everybody says that. I'm looking for something unique only for me." What God responded to him, he said, "Oh Moses, if the seven heavens and what they contain, and 7 earths, in other words, the level, the substratum, upstratum of 7 layers of the earth and what they contain were put in one balance, and La ilaha illallah, there is no God except God, was put in another balance, La ilaha illallah will overweigh." What is behind this question? He's looking for a uniqueness. Well, he told him, you develop your uniqueness from the oneness of God. The worship from the oneness of God, there is uniqueness resulted, it doesn't create an adversary. Unlike Pharaoh, he was self-grandizement, flamboyance to the point that he dreamt that his kingdom will perish through the hands of a kid that will be yet to be born this year from the children of Israel. He slaughtered all the babies. And the targeted baby, he did not reach him. He was raised in his own white solipsistic palace, in his own White House. Thank you for watching. May the Lord open every door of prosperity in front of you. I see you soon.